Lab number 236. In this lab, we will continue development of our Comrade application, and actually now it's time to focus a bit on bug fixes and server functionality. So first of all, we will try to notify users about existing issues within the app, and then we will try to fix the issues, then we will try to remotely disable the app and check the analytics console, try to do custom login and so on. So it will be quite interesting. Let's start with launching our Android emulator. And let's also deploy our application there using mfp Cordova emulate -p Android. -p means platform. So we are deploying the latest version of our app from our Comrade workspace to our mobile device. In this case, it's emulator with Android 5.1. Just like this. And as you remember, after we log in using the correct username and password, user and password, we had an issue that basically the first name and the last name of our comrades were in lowercase. So it's an issue, it's not really polite to write this way and so on. So basically we should do something before we will actually change this code. Imagine that our app is running on the real device and these issues happen. We need somehow to notify user about it. So for that, let's open our browser and navigate to our console. So it's running on localhost 10,080 workload console. Username and password is admin. And we are working on our Comrade application. So when we're inside the application, we are actually able to change the application access level. And we can right away send them the notification when they will start the app. Something like, sorry, we have something like we currently have an issue with first and last name capital letters, something like that, and maybe additional we will fix it soon, just like this. So basically we can save this, and what will happen is that next time when our app will establish the session, we can try to close it and run it once again. So as you remember, try to connect our server right at the startup. We'll have a service notification. So this service notification is actually looking natively for this platform. As you can see, It's totally native Android notification window, and we have our message here. So now when the user are opening our app, they are seeing that yes, there is an issue, we know about it, so they are notified. Let's fix this issue. For that, we need to open our IDE once again, navigate to our style CSS, and basically our h2 item class is actually responsible for this first name and last name, and we can add simple text transform capitalize to capitalize actually the first characters of our name and last name. So basically that's it. Let's deploy the new version. And in the meanwhile, let's disable notification because it's not needed anymore. So as you can see now, we don't have this notification. Let's try to log in once again. And now we have the correct, actually, first name and last name, even inside. So now it's fully working well. But the next thing that we are noticing is that actually our search is not working, and probably for us it will be a major issue within the app, and it shouldn't be like that. Let's pretend that with this issue our app is not functioning as it should, so we need to block the access to our app. For that, let's go back to our console and change the application access to access disable. Basically we can say sorry, application is temporary unavailable, something like this. And we can also set the URL. For example, it can lead us to some web page which will explain the situation. Let's pretend that it will be google.com. And we can save this notification. So what will happen next? Again, when we will just establish the session. As you can see, application giving us two buttons, upgrade and close. So the close will actually close this notification, and we will lose any control to the server side. This means that our app will still be running, and we can of course change the behavior, but by default it will still be running, but we won't be connected to a server and we cannot log in and so on. The upgrade button is a bit different. When we click on upgrade, it will try to open the URL that we provided here. In our case, it's google.com, but nobody restricts us from putting the URL to, I don't know, Google Play or maybe our private application center with the new application version and so on. So we directly can point to a new version. So let's close those two things. And let's change the default behavior. So let's imagine we want to disable the close button. So for that we need to go back to our IDE and open index.js file inside our comrades www and JS folder. So this file actually responsible for installation of our MobileFirst platform. And right now here in index options we can set the additional parameters with which it will load. So now I'm interested in a parameter called show close on remote disable Daniel. Make sure you type the same capital letters as I, so it is really important, and we will set value to false. When value is true, and this is like by default, if you don't set in this variable, it's true by default, you will see those two buttons. In case this variable is false, you will see only upgrade button, so no close button, and the user will have no chance to accept the upgrade. So let's take a look on how it looks now. So now you can see that close button is missing and the dialog also looks different. So next step for us is to change this upgrade title, because as you can see our text says that application is temporarily unavailable, but then it says upgrade. So let's figure out where this upgrade coming from. Actually, inside our platforms, Android, then assets, www, and worklight, we have a messages folder in which there are messages that will be shown, depends on the language, and the default one called messages JSON with all the titles, so like access to servers disabled and so on, and somewhere at the bottom right here we have an upgrade. This file is generated automatically each time we are doing the build, and basically one of the ways how to change it is to go not inside the platforms but to go inside the plugins, open the Cordova plugin MFP, because as you remember in this type of the project, in Cordova project, we are just using the MFP as a plugin to Cordova app. And inside www we'll have the same worklight project and worklight folder, and inside there will be messages folder and our messages JSON file. And right here at the end we can change upgrade, for example, to details. So what will happen next? At the moment when we are launching Cordova M8-P Android, it actually performed the changes. So let's take a look back on our platform messages JSON. I will close this one and open the platform one. So as you can see, it's updated the button with the changes that we performed inside the plugins folder. So now let's wait until our app will be started. It will close this one and launch it once again. Yeah, excellent. So actually, of course, we can continue performing different changes on this success disable, but we'll finish on this. And next thing, we will actually adjust our app because you remember that we disabled it because it doesn't have the search working. So let's fix that by navigating to our index.html and looking for our search. It's inside our main page. Right here we have input type search with no placeholder. So let's add here ng model, something like let's have it like search text. And then what we will need to do is to add a filter on our repeating items right here, and this filter should be the same. So in our case, the filter will be this search text. Actually, this will do everything that we need. So I will just do a build and deploy once again, and make our apps again active. So here we go, our app is running. Let's try to get inside. So now we are inside and we can check our search. So let's check for Samuel, for example. Yeah, so basically the search is working, excellent. Fix this issue. So next our step is actually to take a look on how much time it takes for this data to load. So now it's time to open our analytics. There are two options how to do that. Either you can just click on the analytics button right here in the console. Either you can navigate there manually by entering the IP address and the same port 10,080 and then /analytics. Sometimes the analytics console may be assigned to a totally different URL, of course, because you can have the analytics server separately. But in our case, we have just the command line interface that installs everything by default on the same IP address, and of course running it together on the same machine, the analytics and the MobileFirst Platform operational console. So the username and the passwords are still the same, admin. And now you can see the analytics. So basically we are seeing that we have 3 total sessions, we have some adapter calls, 3 in total, and so on. Some basic data. We can check it not for today, for example, but for yesterday, when we had more calls and so on. So data is dynamic, we can refresh it. We can specify the app for which we want to take a look on the analytics. So for example, our Hello Cordova project, which was a default one created without anything, or all applications and so on. We are able to go to Devices tab and take a look on devices. So as you can see, we have 1 total device, and basically we can go back to today's view or select last 7 days, something like that. So we will be seeing the number of devices, we will be seeing the different operation systems and so on. And basically what is interesting here is that we are also seeing the number of adapter calls for these devices, and we even can do a search for a specific device. So for example, we can take a look on our Android emulator with version 5.1. We can check, of course, the operation system which we want to filter our device for, even the OS version, in our case 5.1, or we can enter a device ID to search for it. So when we are inside our device, we can take a look on the number of sessions, number of adapter calls to devices, and so on. We can even download the logs for this device, and we will be able to see the logs, but our text editor seems like not able to display them all, too many logs and so on. Yeah, of course it needs structure, filtering and so on, but as you can see, quite a lot of things here. So next step that we can actually do is to check the network. And with the network tab, we are able to see the round trip time, which is actually very important for us to understand what time it takes from us doing the call, then to workload server, then the workload server doing the call to our random user service, then response back and back to the app, so like that. And of course the backend response time. So as you can see, the major part of this call is actually the response from a random user service. And of course we can again do a clarification on the app that we are looking for, on the device models, and so on, the operation system version and things like that. We can also go to adapter requests and see the specific requests that we are that we are looking at. In this case, we are taking a look on get comrades request, and again we can search, filter, and so on. Let's take a look on the server tabs. So here we have the number of sessions to a server, the IP address of the server, adapter calls, and so on. And of course we're also able to see the server logs and do the same for server logs, download the logs, take a look, and so on. Security tab will show us actual attempts to perform the authentication. In our case, we were doing a few tries to authentication realm, and we can take a look on the specific realms details and so on. We can take a look on resources that we were requesting through different realms, for example for init or for specific invocations. So quite a lot of information, and of course everything is searchable. So the same way as you're doing the client logs download, you can just take a look and search for something on the client side. So for example, I'm searching for all the messages, or let's take a look on the server side for something like deployed, which will show us the deployment parts, for example Android application deployed and so on. On the administration tab, you can also take a look on the server information, the heap size, and so on. Different settings for update. You can export different data or go to migration, but the most interesting thing here is actually the custom charts on the main dashboard. So here, for example, we can create a demo chart. So let's say the device usage. Let's check the client logs, for example, and the chart type, something like pie chart. And we want just to see, for example, the device models that we're using our app. So this is how it looks. So we have the 57% from our Android SDK device, and unknown device for less than a half. So we can save this chart, and this chart will be saved right here. We can also modify it by changing the date, for example, to show only today's information, or to show information only from yesterday or last 30 days, and so on. So it will be dynamically modified, and we can also export the data through the REST API, or basically download it using the JSON format or XML or CSV file. So it also can be got. So let's check the JSON, for example, for today. Yeah, it's just showing us one device, but if we will export it, for example, for last 30 days, then we will be able to see basically both options for unknown device, which is our browser actually, and our SDK. And of course we can do a custom login, but this is something that we will discuss in next labs. So on this step, our lab number 236 is finished. So thank you.